Do you know how long I sat here and thought to myself about whether or not I was allowed to wear my bow on the video? I'm wearing it around in the morning and I'm comfortable and I like it and it's soft and I like to touch it. And then it's time to record the video because I felt like recording the video. And then the mental, like, am I going to take the bow off? I don't want to take the bow off. like like I'm not allowed to wear the bow, but it was so much more than it needed to be. And so I'm wearing the bow, okay? As just a message to myself that my comfort matters and nobody cares if I wear the bow or don't wear the bow, okay? Like I gave that so much mental energy just now before I pressed record and it was hilarious to me. And so I decided that I would let you in on just a little bit of what would we call that? Like neurosis Virgo South Node can suffer from. We are here in theory, to talk about the Pisces North Node and the Virgo South Node transit that's going on January 11th, 2025 to July 27th of 2026. So we are over a year into this transit and have, a good chunk of months left to go. Um, so I do have six themes that I can definitely see are themes that have really risen to the surface while the last year, like while the North Node's been moving through Pisces and the South Node's been moving through Virgo. And so I do want to talk about those, but also mostly this video exists because I felt like hanging out with you guys. Like, and this is very Pisces energy to think that we're hanging out right now because clearly you're not in my kitchen, right? Like, clearly I am sitting in a room all by myself. And yet there's an energetic connection that has formed from your perspective because you just got here, but has formed from my perspective because I am arriving in a place where others will eventually be as well. And if you eliminate time from the equation, we're both in the same place right here, right now. This is a very Pisces type conversation where we are truly hanging out outside of time and space. And so I was in the mood for friend time and not really having an open channel in this particular moment to have access to a friend in the physical. So I do the thing where I access friend time in the non-physical, where I step out of time and basically like get down into the roots of like what's fun about a friend. Like, what is it that is you wanting friend time? And really, you could substitute anything for friend time, like whatever you want. Like, get down into the essence of like, why is it that you want that? And a lot of friend time for me is getting to know the other person. Um, and getting to hear their stories and getting to hear inside myself, like what gets stirred up and what dots get connected and what visions do I have while I'm listening to their stories. So, like, so much of my enjoyment of friend time is getting to be the witness. And when I'm sitting here in a room all by myself, like unless I'm gonna play the storyteller at some point, like there's really nothing for me to witness. And so yeah, like I think of these videos as almost like an out loud, like talking kind of meditation because I'm really creating it for the witness, for the entertainment of the part of me who likes to listen, Like, and so when there's nobody in the room, like somebody needs to do the talking. And I also really love the, like, what used to feel like a very fantastical possibility that I would have friend time in this way outside of time, right? We're having this energetic connection. Um, that I would have this friend time and I would find like the satisfaction in it. I would receive the deliciousness of it, like in my now moment. Again, even though like the energetic connection in the 3D like isn't fully forming until you get here to like listen and like make your side of the connection. That's the 3D version. And in my version where I'm having to get there first, like I got to go into like this outside of time, like I got to feel for your energy that I know is there. Because if I will put my attention, if I will focus in a direction, the 3D has to meet me there. Like we are the creators of our own reality. Our focus and our attention, where we flow, that is what builds the entire world around us. Um, so all of that to say that basically, like I felt like witnessing, I felt like being witnessed, I felt like being with a friend, and I made videos, and this is where I was headed with like the fantastical possibility that maybe we could like have this friend time that in my reality at this now moment is basically make believe, and that like it could grow in the 3D, like that if I could connect with the frequency of friendship that I so desired and basically engage with it even just as an individual person. Right? Like the energy of my friends, I'm having a friendship with their energy, even though I don't know who they are yet. And so I show up on these videos and I talk to my friends, and they materialized. They are materializing. I'll bet there's some out there right now that I haven't even met yet that are going to be like really important friends to me. Like I have met so many cool people by doing this, by like I feel like I want to have friend time. And so I show up and make a video where I am playing with the energy of my friends. And yeah, I do all the talking because y'all are only here to talk to me through my own intuitive listening, like my own energetic like perceptions. And there are many times where like I can hear the other half of the conversation and that guides like what I say. And it's hilarious how many times people tell me later, they're like, it is like you can hear me. It's like I'm telling you, I'm like having my part of the conversation and then you're responding to what I'm thinking. And I'm like, well, kind of like that's exactly what's happening. Like outside of time, there is a connection that is always now, right? Like it's right here in my now, I can feel it. It's right there in your now, you can feel it. So at that point, like we are connected outside of time, right? And there's a timelessness to this connection. And it just is, again, such a Pisces North Node style conversation. And we also, like at the time I'm recording this, we also have um, all kinds of other planets, the sun, um, Venus, Mercury's doing a million year retrograde in Pisces. Like there's so much going on in Pisces. And like right now, like Mars will also be entering Pisces here in a few days. Um, so yeah, like this is just a very Piscean time where the 3D reality is accurately perceived to be much more fluid than it is normally understood to be. Okay. And if you heard anything in what I just said, like I freaking love you. Okay. The fact that we can just offer ourselves in whatever way is natural, and the people who are meant to hear us will be able to hear us. Okay. And that is actually the very first theme that I wrote down as far as Pisces North Node is like you get to feel and receive and have in your possession this divine protection. And that's how I understand authenticity. like, and I think that this is such a good time to even like wrap this blanket around ourselves because Mercury in Pisces is already in its fall, okay? And like falling down, not a good thing. Like it's not a good thing. Mercury in its fall. Like, yeah, it's not doing its best work. And Mercury retrograde is also known to be like a kind of scrambling, swirling of our mental energies. And so Mercury retrograde in Pisces, it's hard going out there for like what's going on in our minds. And that's par for the course. And okay, this is the important part to do with divine protection. This first theme is that, the people who can hear us, like the people where we put ourselves out there in all kinds of like scrambled, circular, spiraling, tangential musings, and they can hear us and they understand us and they offer us connection and compassion and you just like it's just so good, like and that level of acceptance and connection, that is the gold standard. And not everyone that would hear us speak is even capable of offering those things, like we cannot give what we do not have. And so there is divine protection in someone not being able to hear you. Someone, oh gosh, and that like was the topic that went through me just as I heard myself say that, which is another reason I love to do the talking because I can listen too, like even while I'm the one saying it. But like that felt so good of like there is such divine protection in someone not being able to hear you. Like that is another one of the themes that is so right on time. And our thinking mind, and this is more like the Virgo South Node end of it, like our thinking mind can really be under the illusion that it is in charge and thinking that it is the master and that its plan is law and that that's what needs to happen because I said so. Like it's adorable, okay, what our mind thinks of itself and its prowess. Um, and the mind is our servant, not our master. And it's not in charge of anything, okay? Because it's a fear machine, our mind. And it's a tool and it's a survival tool and it's a beautiful survival tool. And we can use it and we can benefit from it. And it's wonderful. And that is like the best of the best of like maximizing Virgo South Node and the gifts that Virgo energy really truly does possess. And if we have an abundance of Virgo energy, then we have the gifts along with the shadows. And I have like a whole playlist on my channel, like going deep into like all of the different nodes, but Pisces Virgo is in there as well. And in this divine protection idea, it's like there are bad actors in the world. And that's not to say necessarily that like they are bad themselves, not worthy of love, whatever. Like, not necessarily, more that their intentions concerning you don't necessarily promote your highest good. And that's a reality that exists in the world. Like, their agenda is elsewhere, like they have other motivations. And like, that's just real life. That's just reality. Okay. And so let's say you open up and share and give access to a person like that, and they misunderstand you. You have been protected in that moment, right? Like your expression was like translated and encrypted such that them with their impure intentions can't crack the code, can't understand you, can't tap in, can't receive what you just handed them on a silver platter. Okay. That is divine protection. When you're like, I have told you X number of times, I have repeated myself, I have put it in all of these different like languages, I've like done my very best to, very Virgo, like I've tried everything to be able to communicate with you in a way that you can hear me and understand. And they still can't. Divine protection. Okay, authenticity is divine protection. When you will be more and more and more and more and more and more and more of yourself, that is like I think the very best thing we can do to dance and weave with the divine protection that is always available to us, but we also have free will, and there's only so much that divine protection, non-physical, can do to save us from ourselves. And that's where, again, I think the mind can lead us into all kinds of little traps where, we think we know what needs to happen, and we really just don't. And like that's the second takeaway is trust the process. There are things that happen in the 3D that we would label as not right, it ain't right, like all the way up to that's an atrocity. That is a tragedy. That should never have happened. And I mean, I have moments I'm a human being. Like I have moments where I am in pure opposition with reality. Like I'm thinking about the moment I got the news about my dog. Like I dropped to the floor and just like said slash yelled the word no for like 5 minutes. Okay. Like just like you're not allowed to be that reality. Like like and just like wouldn't let it in. And like so I get it. Like when the truth is unfaceable, like denial is such a gracious mechanism of this body to keep us safe in a moment where, like the truth is dangerous and dangerous to our psyche, dangerous to our mental health, dangerous, which is to say dangerous to our overall well-being. When your mental health is suffering, like good luck taking care of any of your other healths, like it's not good. And again, like there's the mind that wants to say how it should be. And like I said, it's a fear machine and it's a survival tool. So this is where like trust the process. Um, your mind is really going and what to do with that while you're trusting the process, like um and so I like to balance like trust the process with trust your discernment. Virgo South Node, again, like the best of the best of like the superpowers of having an abundance of Virgo energy at play. It's like you have a lot of observations, a lot of data, okay, about the 3D physical right now moment. You have the details. And, that's really like step number one to exercising wise discernment in any given moment. Um, but the road between gathering the details and exercising wise discernment is about the sorting that happens in between. Like, just because your mind is doing a thing doesn't mean that, like we need to agree with the mind or we need to do what the mind is telling us. Sometimes there is conditioning that comes up that is telling you a should, and you are sorting through what the mind is giving you, which is so compelling and feels like all there is. But when you can slow down the moment long enough to drop down into the body and feel what's actually there, like what's real. And for that, there was a moment recently where I was on a Zoom and normally in a situation where the conversation has slowed and like everyone is quiet and everybody's just kind of like looking at each other, I would always like, I mean, I can say something, figure out something to say as a facilitator. And in this moment, I was like in like a playful scientist experimenter mood and trusting the process. And instead of jumping in and ending the awkward silence, I mean, I personally like don't necessarily find it that awkward, like to sit in silence with people and to just be there and see who's gonna speak. And that's something I've practiced on a lot of other Zooms where I'm not the typical facilitator person. And this time I just let it sit there. And when I say like this sorting of all the information, like there's what the mind is telling you, which is you should jump in and like nudge the conversation forward. That was the should that my mind was telling me. It was like I can feel the tension in my body. Um, but the tension was only there because my body doesn't have anything to say. Like, I've been listening to the conversation. I've been tracking with like this person shared and they talked about this, and this person shared and they talked about this. And then that person stopped talking. And like authentically down in my body was quiet stillness. I don't have anything to express right now. And it was that steady truth, that reality of like, there's nothing that this body like wants to say right now. And it was in that feeling that I had the realization that anything that I come in with at this point, given that I don't really want to say anything, anything that I do say is now in the category of performance. I am now performing the role that I believe I should. That's what I'm doing. And this happened to be a space where I have, been very clear in hosting this space for 2 years and like am very clear on my intention that this is about practicing authenticity, that this is a safe space for practicing authenticity. And it was like just a mixture of all of these things that let me sort through the information of the moment, which was, I think I should, I don't really want to. And the pull, the tension between those two things. Because the silence wouldn't have been awkward, it wouldn't have been tense if I had wanted to say something. Because then there wouldn't have been a silence, right? Like, if I truly wanted to say something, like the tension goes away. So the fact that it's tense is reflecting that like I don't actually want to do that. Not in this moment, like not as a judgment on the whole thing. Like clearly, like this is I love being here, but like I said, it was like a playful experiment of like in this moment, I wonder what would happen if I did not perform the role that I think I should. If I let that tension just sit there, what would happen? And instead, I focused inside myself in that, like, 6 seconds maybe that we sat there and then somebody said something and it went right on. And like, it was like a non-event, but like in my nervous system, it was a growth edge. It was a like, there's our comfort zone, and then there's getting outside of our comfort zone, which will always be uncomfortable. And we don't have to like burn down our comfort zone and go a million miles away. We can step 1 foot outside. And I feel like that was that kind of moment. That was like a 1% more comfortable inside myself, comfortable inside my intuitive right now, real time inner experience that is guiding me, that is, this is, yeah, that is right on. Well, like, let me make the end of that point as far as like, so trusting the process, yes, but also trusting your discernment because you've been around the block about 14,000 times and you do know a lot of stuff and your mind is picking up on a lot of things like 97% of it you don't know anything about, but it's still being picked up on. So trusting the process is not to say like completely surrendering that like nothing inside of you is relevant. Like you are the process. So yeah, that discernment plays a part, and that sorting between the information of what's going on in your inner world and how you choose to navigate in the outer world, what choices you make, how you decide to how to make your choices, like all of that is part of the process. Like I think how we make choices is the ultimate expression of kind of this dynamic between our authenticity and our conditioning. Watching ourselves make choices, that's getting to see yourself either leaning more into conditioning in a moment or more into your authenticity in a moment. Um, and it's all right on time, which is the next key theme of this Pisces North Node transit is dancing with divine timing, and which requires trusting the process, which requires understanding that basically there's a bigger picture happening that you just don't know about that is bigger than you. And that's okay. And like maybe it's a little bit scary. It can also be empowering. It can also be really strengthening that like you're not solely responsible for everything in the whole world. Like there is so much happening. Other people are making magical contributions to things that you deeply care about, and you don't have to lift a finger. Okay, because like there's lots of people, there's tons of individuals that are aligning with similar frequencies and similar heart-centered missions. And so, like, there's like this team element that is available where, like, you're not on an island all by yourself. Like, we are interconnected, and this is getting into other themes, but the right on timeness of the way your unique part and contribution weaves into things. And the Virgo South Node end of this is what I say about like making plans is basically like a self-soothing tool. Like that's really what it's good for, okay? And maybe just a tiny bit more than that. Like it doesn't hurt to be organized in some most cases ish. Um, but for the most part, like you making a plan in a moment, there's nothing wrong with it at all. There's nothing wrong with like thinking in your mind, like, well, yeah, I'm gonna go to the bank and then I'm gonna go here and then I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna swing by and pick that up. And at 5 o'clock, I've got this. Like, nothing wrong with it. Okay. But I do think the relationship we have with the plans that we make is very, very much impacting our mental health. And so it's important to question what we think these plans mean about real life. Because just because we made a plan doesn't mean anything about what's actually going to happen. Okay. It just means that we are prepared for a particular timeline or a particular range of timelines. Like we feel very comfortable as so long as things go like this, which is like how we think they should go, and possibly some what would be allowable deviations from that, as far as allowable being like what our psyche can hold. Um, yeah. And yeah. Um, so like nothing wrong with making plans, but like do we think that that plan is a directive that the universe has agreed to follow? Because if so, that is a recipe for disappointment. That is a recipe for just a hard time. Okay, there is a lot of contrast that goes on here at Earth School, and a lot of things that are out of the plan or off the tracks, or like this detour that is taking me away from where I need to go. I don't think it ever works like that personally. Like, I think everything is right on time. And if you do not understand the value of the experience, then, like it's difficult to go all in on a concept like this is right on time, like when you're suffering or you're in pain or whatever the case is. But again, that's where stepping outside of time to reach for a future version of yourself who does hold the wisdom for why this was right on time. And the, wouldn't take it back kind of vibe that they have, the level of acceptance, and not just acceptance, but real, true gratitude for like that truly couldn't have gone any better. I am so glad that it went just like that. And there's a version of you in the future who feels like that about whatever it is that you really can't accept, that you think this isn't right on time, like this is an injustice, this is a travesty, like whatever it is. And it's worthwhile, it's worth an investment of your time to find that version of you that's in the future who holds that wisdom, who has found the serenity and the peace of mind to do with that situation and to allow yourself to receive it in this now moment, if for no other reason than it can give you a moment of just melting the tension out of your body. Like actually it's okay that this happened. And that's not letting anything off the hook. Like don't get it twisted because it's the same as what I was describing at the beginning of like what will happen. This is where I started with like what will happen if I have my friend time energetically. I play pretend with my friends on the YouTube video and I put it out in the universe and like I wonder what would happen, you know? And like the friends that I have met by making YouTube videos, like it's just freaking delightful that, you know, it is one of the many reasons that I have faith that like when you will tap in to the frequency, to the feeling that you want to feel. It's not about the outcome at all. It's about, you want the outcome so that you can feel however you need to feel about, whatever it is. And you think the outcome is going to help you to feel that way. And so if we can take the outcome out of the equation, go to the time in the future where you do feel this way and just make that as large inside your conscious awareness as you possibly can and let your body feel that. Like there's studies at this point. Like science is such a beautiful it's so far behind, but it's such a beautiful thing as it does catch up incrementally as far as showing that like our body can't tell the difference between imagination and real life. Okay, so that means that you can train your body like that. Like I can show up and have friend time on a video, and that can plant seeds into my future, like physical 3D unfolding. Like I become a stronger and stronger and stronger magnet for that energy as I personally allow myself to receive it in this now moment. It gets even stronger in my field, and the 3D has to adjust to reflect the changes in my field. And these people, they just show up. They just show up and be their lovely selves. And I get to love them and they get to love me, and the new community paradigm gets to be born. And that doesn't mean that I don't still have moments in relationships where my conditioning is louder than my authentic self, and it's an ongoing work in progress always, right? Like we're trusting the process. It's right on time. And that includes when the good stuff shows up, and that includes when the quote unquote bad stuff shows up. And it's such a conditioned idea that there's even such a thing as the good stuff and the bad stuff. Because again, from this perspective of trusting the process and everything is right on time, there is no good and bad stuff. There's only useful stuff. And if it's happening, it's useful. And if we don't understand, why it's useful, this like time just hasn't revealed that to us yet. But we can reach for the energy of where we do understand that it's useful, and we will see it even sooner. The details of why it's useful. Our understanding will blossom as we allow it to blossom by reaching for the energy of already having it. And so this interconnectedness, this stepping outside of physical time and moving more into the non-physical energy and the interconnectedness of the all, um, this concept of the highest good of the all is my next key theme. And that goes really well. And I'm just going to unpack it with the next one, which is basically oneness. The idea that we are all one, that like my higher self is your higher self. So truly, there is a frequency of myself, my individual self, where if I get into a high enough perspective of my true self, it will be like looking out the same exact eyeballs as the highest frequency of your truest self. So that is oneness. Like we are all, in my own felt experience, we are all born from love. We all return to love. Love is the fabric of this universe, and the variations between each of us as individuals, and therefore the fear that gets to be born through that illusion of separation, it allows for these pockets of ever expanding love. It allows for the love of the universe to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so, yes, we do come into the 3D reality where the illusion of separateness exists. And at the same time, there is a part of us, even right here, right now, that is still connected to where we came from, our higher self, the highest version of who we really are. When you get inside yourself and like, who am I? What am I? What even is this life? What even is this experience, this awareness that I have, and this inner world that I have that shows me all kinds of ridiculous things. Like, I love how people are like flabbergasted at what goes on in the outer world. I'm like, dude, I got plenty of like, you wouldn't believe it shit going down in my inner world with the things that you're shown and the feelings that you have and the visions and the all of the senses, not just the five senses that we have. We have so many senses in this physical body, and we are aware both consciously, which is a small percentage of our awareness, and subconsciously aware of so much. We are antenna for all kinds of things. And so this goes back to what we were talking about with like the sorting process. And like there is so much information that we have access to. And then in the sorting and the practicing our discernment of like, you know, yes, here's all of this information, here's all of these passengers on the bus, but like who's actually sitting in the driver's seat? Whose hands are physically on the steering wheel? Whose feet are running the pedals is really important. That final decision maker of like, they are the ones turning right or left at the end of the day. Like, if there's a squabble at the back of the bus because parts can't get along, like, that's pretty much par for the course. But like, who's driving? And this is where, like, you know, the highest self perspective, it's kind of like always present in our now reality. It's always there, but like, are we inviting it to the table? Are we taking a moment to realize, like, what floor of the building am I even on? That's a Carolyn Meese analogy, metaphor, whichever one. And she says, like, in a now moment, it's like the floors of a building. Like, you can walk into a building and you're at the same address, even if you take the elevator up to the ninth floor, you're still at the same physical location on the earth. You're still in the same like now moment. But like there's the entry level where like it's really hot down here and there's garbage piled up and the street's really full of people and it's loud and it's chaotic. That's entering on the ground floor. And then she takes the elevator up to the ninth floor, and there's like this terrace. There's a breeze. It's like 10 degrees cooler up there. She can also like barely hear the street noise and definitely can't smell the trash. She can instead see this like beautiful river that's like over there. Oh man, that's gorgeous. And it's like that's the difference between, inside of a now moment. Are you on the ground floor or are you on the ninth floor? And our higher self, it works like that. Like just because you're standing in the lobby doesn't mean the ninth floor isn't up there. It's always up there. And are you up there or not? And there's no right or wrong, but it's part of this discernment sorting, like, do we just have what the mind thinks? Have we stopped and collected what the body thinks? And if so, do we also have what our higher self is looking at? Because now we are really whole as far as mind, body, spirit. Like we have our whole self at our disposal. and we get to then discern and choose. And that is, oh, you see how excited I get about discernment. Yay. Um, Making good choices. It's so fun. It's so fun to make good choices that support the highest good of the all. And the last thing I want to say about that is, you know, I personally tend to be more like historically like a giver, overgiver, taking care of others, hyper fixated on others. And I know a lot of people around my channel tend to fall into a similar category. And so, like, for me, the highest good of the all was like almost like a noble concept. Like, there was virtue in it for sure that, like, I ate up with a spoon that, like, really almost like reinforced my conditioning. Okay. And I want to just like give a big permission slip around this because that was a beautiful thing. And like, maybe that's how it always is like, the medicine that we find, it has to meet us where we are. And so that concept of like the highest good of the all, it very much met me where I was, as far as like I already really like to think about making a positive impact on other people. And what I have learned, and I am a Pisces North Node, like that's what's in my natal chart. So like my whole life is about like this pattern of like the Pisces North Node, the Virgo South Node. So like I have given a lot of thought, like not just in this past year, but so like the highest good of the all, what I have learned about actually putting that into practice, like the Virgo end, like yes, it's all like great, like abstract, hazy, fuzzy, like anything is possible. Like, yeah, that's cool to say. But like the Virgo South Node end of like, how do you actually put that into practice? I'm gonna need the step-by-step instructions and the data to back it up. you know? So, like, the highest good of the all, how do you actually put that into practice? Like I was saying, like, my highest self is your highest self. This is what I believe. You're welcome to believe whatever you like. Tell me about it in the comments if you want. But my highest self is your highest self. And that is because, like, truly at a highest self kind of level, there is only love. And that's like all we really are at our very core, at our highest possible selves. It is all coming back to love. Again, just my beliefs. And so if, you go along that thread of like oneness, like if we are all one, then truly we all have access to infinite intelligence. Like, if everything is one, if your higher self is part of the one, like you're tapping into God level intelligence at that point, which again is just to say love. You're tapping into love intelligence at that point. So this highest good of the all, we have access to it. I also sometimes call it like the mushroom network. Like, if you know about mushrooms and the physical, this is totally real. They're like under the surface, they're all connected to each other. And they're all like sharing resources and information and adapting super quick because it's like such a collaborative organism, the way that it is harmoniously like so blatantly demonstrating that either we all win together or we all lose together, which is true for us as well. But in the 3D, as far as humans are concerned, we tend to maintain this illusion of separateness where we think that we're on our own. And what I'm talking about with like the highest good of the all and like our higher selves, like all kind of merging back into one, is very similar to like the under the soil root system of mushrooms, the mushroom network, where like truly we're all one, we're all connected. We can all share information, we can share wisdom, we can share energy, emotions, like we can share. We can share. And again, it is so interesting at how, like, so yes, this highest good of the all concept, like, it very much met me where I was as far as like being an overgiver, being like hyper functioning for other people. And it also took me like clockwork, right on time, trust the process, into deconditioning exactly that. Because what I have learned about accessing the highest good of the all is that you can only get there through your own highest good. You can only access the highest good of the all through your personal individual channel up there. And that requires taking really good care of self. That requires accessing love deep down in self so that self can rise up into the love that is the all, right? Like there is a harmonizing that requires like we soften inside of ourselves and we receive inside of ourselves, and that our own personal highest good is tended to. It's like you cannot give what you do not have. And so when you will merge with your own highest good, and it doesn't have to be permanently, right? Like we're talking about, like in that process of sorting and discernment and looking at the information that you have access to inside of yourself as far as the choices that you're making and how you're navigating in your life. Like, do I have all the information? And nobody expects you to be perfect. Like, that's not realistic. You're a human being, but you also have access to your higher self. And in a moment of making a decision, have I checked in on the ninth floor with what my higher self thinks about this, And so this highest good of the all, it's only accessible through your own personal highest good. Like your personal self-care matters a lot. Your personal frequency and energy matters a lot. And it's like at that point, we all become role models for what we want to see in the world. Same as what Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. I think another way of saying that, you cannot give what you do not have. So you have to be in possession of something before you can actively give it away. And and with that, then deconditioning that over functioning for other people, and instead like deeming my own effort and care as something that I am worthy of. Like it's no longer a waste of my time to only take care of myself. Like if I'm only cooking for myself, then I'll just skip it because it's just for me. No longer, like that's and I'm not perfect. Like I don't always like cook for myself, but like a lot of times, a lot more often than I used to, do I say like that's the yummy meal that I want, and then I spend an hour and a half in the kitchen making the yummy meal that I want, even though I'm the only one that's going to get to eat it. Like, are you worth your own time and effort to delight yourself? And this is one path. There are probably many paths to meet our higher selves, but that is one path that I have personally found, um, as far as like allowing myself to be a part of the one. If you think about like the highest good of the all, it's so easy to skip straight to like the well-being that we wish for other people. And if we are talking about the all, then that has to include massive well-being for ourselves as well. And that is one avenue of deconditioning that some humans need to walk down. And that's been my path. And one of them at least. And again, a lot of people who gravitate into this sphere can relate to that. And so it comes back to like the Virgo South Node end of things with like releasing excess responsibility for others, and which is kind of like part of that balancing act with needing to increase your own estimation of your own value so that again you're worthy of your own time and effort and care, and that your highest good is something that should be prioritized, and that if anything that is the priority that best allows you to take care of all of the other people that you care about. um, we feel so responsible for the suffering of others. And in a way, that is a beautiful level of empathy, that we would allow ourselves to be so deeply touched by the real life experience of another person. And I can only imagine the life experience that carves out such a deep well of empathy that would leave you feeling responsible for another being that is not your small biological child. Um, like when that happens all the time. I don't have any biological children yet, and I feel responsible for other people on a regular basis. And part of that Virgo South node is in shedding the excess responsibility that we carry and the resulting guilt that that leaves us with as far as like feeling responsible for something that most of the time we have no power to influence, and then we just sit there and watch it be not what we wish it was, what our mind tells us it should be. And we feel responsible, like we should be able to make it different. And yet, in reality, true reality, we don't hold that power, you know? And so, yeah, like that excess responsibility can be a gigantic weight, a gigantic energy leak of your own life force energy. And so, to shed that excess responsibility, to realize that truly you making as many of your choices through the lens of the highest good of the all, that is, in my belief, that is the best contribution any of us individuals can make. And that there is an altruism in that that will amplify the love on this planet such that the quality of life just rises and rises and rises and rises. And it's an era of heaven on earth. It is, one possible timeline among many. And I visit that timeline often. I reach for that future energy often because it feels nice to receive that energy in this now moment. And that truly, we cannot give what we do not have. Like, truly, the best contribution I can make is to hold that energy myself, to cultivate that energy myself, and to not leak or exhaust myself anywhere where my energy is not amplifying the love on this planet. Like that is within my power as far as how I choose to channel my energy, how I choose to navigate the free will of this life that God has given me. Um, so releasing the excess responsibility for others is one path towards setting ourselves free to pursue our own highest good, which in a very roundabout way is actually in service to the highest good of the all, by maximizing our own personal well-being. And the last theme of this Pisces North Node transit that I have noticed so far, and I'm sure we'll continue to notice, is this infinite nature of reality. And, the third dimension is just one layer of reality. There are other dimensions stacked on top of this one that are expanding the vastness of what is reality. And it begs the question, what is reality? What does that even mean? And I think the historical definition has been somewhere in the realm of like what you can sense with your five senses: see, hear, smell, taste, touch. But as I said before, we have so many more senses than that. This body is a lightning storm of sensory information at any given time. And what do you do with all of that? And how does it expand your understanding of reality? And I think it forces us to expand our thinking and give, you know, appropriate amounts of airtime and nuance to bringing in dimensions. You like now at this point in our modern, right now, I'm recording this February 26th of 2026. Love all the twos and sixes. Um, right now, I think you cannot have a conversation about reality without bringing in dimensions to go along with it, because there are many layers. And that is also to say many timelines that are with us in any given now moment. Um, like the concept of simultaneous time. And I would say it's more than a concept, it's a reality, like again, but that's just my opinion. That's my lived experience. Um, but it really starts to light up the infinite nature of reality, where simultaneous time is the reformation of time, that instead of being linear as in like left to right, like there was the past back there and then there's the present moment right now and then the future is like somewhere off over there over the horizon. Simultaneous time takes it and stacks it on top of each other. So, like inside of this now moment, you have access to the present moment, you have access to the past, or you have access to the future. And how do you get between these levels of simultaneous time is through your focus, through your attention, through the chatter that's going on in your mind, through the decisions that you're making as far as like, exhaling and releasing thoughts. Because that's a thought that I'm recognizing that's me accessing the past. I'm going to come back to accessing the present moment by witnessing the next inhale that I take through my nose. That's me re-entering the present moment. I'm going to listen. What does this present moment sound like? It's quiet and I can hear birds in the faint distance, and I can kind of hear very faintly the machine up here. That's the sound of this now moment. And like as I'm observing this now moment, I'm in the now moment. I've accessed it through my attention. And I would access the future in the same way by pointing my attention towards using my imagination towards what is in the future. And then like the little meme thing says, like, if you can imagine worst case scenario, you can imagine best case scenario. I think some of the people with the worst anxiety are some of the people with the best imaginations. You're just pointing it in the way wrong direction. It's the same magic wand. You just got to point it towards fun and play and pleasure and feels good, like best case scenario, the version with the most light in it, the version with the most love in it, the version that works out the best that you can possibly imagine. And as you hold that, you'll imagine an even better one. Like we become a stronger and stronger and stronger magnet based on the energy that we choose to focus into. So, the infinite nature of reality and our power as the creator of our unique world, as in like where are we pointing this magic wand that is our attention, and the infinite possibility that exists as far as like what the 3D is a reflection of our inner world, and our inner world is able to access and sample all of these different dimensions of reality, including some dimensions that are outside of time, and allow for quantum potential that collapse back into nothingness, which is to say everythingness. Okay. And again, if you're following me right now, I freaking love you that you can hear this. And I love that there are spaces where we can have conversations like this. Okay. Because again, maybe you can see now why me wanting to have friend time and like have these conversations, like I'm not able to just like go out to the random like grocery store and meet up with somebody in aisle two and like have these conversations. That is definitely more rare than the friends that I've cultivated that through them responding to conversations like this and like wanting to sit and chat about stuff like this. Oh my gosh, now we're both having fun. And the infinite possibility that anything you can imagine inside your inner world is actually possible as far as the 3D being able to reflect it to you. And that is where I want to leave you with this concept of like, the Virgo South Node end being very much the finite side of that equation, and the Pisces North Node being the infinite. When we step outside of time, anything is possible. And so I want to leave you with the concept of a pipe dream, okay? Because I think this is very relevant as far as like Pisces begging our imagination to get out the crayons and just go nuts as far as like do your worst. Like what can you imagine? Because the 3D can show you anything that you want. And so like some things that like there is a conditioned idea inside of ourselves that like that's not even worth spending time imagining in make believe. Like it's not realistic. It's never going to happen. And that's a pipe dream, like just like feel that energy, vibe with it for a second, because that kind of denial of that possibility, um, it says a lot about the person making that judgment as far as like, are you closer to the finite reality of this right now moment? Or are you closer to the infinite potential that is in the quantum realm, which is to say, when you will step outside of time, go into your imagination, anything is possible. Okay, anything at all. If you can imagine it, bam, you're there. And like I said before, like your body doesn't know the difference between the imagination version and real life. And that's how it works as far as like if you'll go into the imagined version and then go there again and go there again and go there again and go there again, let your body feel it, let your body feel it, let your body feel it. Every bit of that is you becoming a magnet for the 3D version. Okay. And basically this concept of a pipe dream, it only exists when we force our imagined version to show itself in any now moment, which is going back into the mind thinking that it's the master. Okay, it's going back into like those plans and the demands that we make, the declarations, the plans that like now the universe has to do this. Like, no, it doesn't. It never does. And the more we paddle up that stream, the more we wear ourselves out. And, it's a way funner ride to drop your oar and just let the downstream wave carry you because it will. And it will be lined up with the highest good of the all, which includes your highest good. So all is always well. And the more we fight with reality, as far as like something has to be a certain way in this right now time, that's where we come up with an idea, a human concept like a pipe dream. And there can be a disillusion of that stigma of like a certain dream that you have being unrealistic, because unrealistic is only when you force your dream into reality. When you will access your dream energetically, which is to say, when you will reach into the future through your imagination and imagine the future version of you who is living that dream, who is inside of it right now, who is receiving that life, who is living that life, and who is like just having it, like no effort required. You're just like viewing in on her now moment. Um, and you let your body just watch that movie. And then you just do it again because it feels good for your body to watch that movie. If you haven't noticed, like if you imagine best case scenario and then let your body watch that movie, like it's a pleasurable experience, and let your body have it, let your body have it, let your body have it. And that is the strengthening of the magnet that basically through the laws of the universe and through effort not of your own, the universe will provide the 3D rendering of what it is that you've created in your imagination. That will happen, but not because you made it happen, because you were willing to imagine it inside of yourself. So to step outside of the now moment, to let go of the demand on the now moment that it be any kind of certain way, and instead come outside of time into an equally real version of reality, which is to say, accessing the future through this now moment, um, and feel the energy of that. Let yourself have the energy of that. And I mean, I wish I did have the data, but at the same time, having the data kind of defeats the purpose of like letting yourself trust the process that is also very much required to practice the art of creating reality in this way, where you are allowing yourself to imagine best case scenario and doing it so frequently that your life has no choice but to line up with that. And going back through them really quickly, I love how that ties back into divine protection. Letting the exact timing of your dreams coming true or not be divine protection. And it always is. So trust the process. It's all right on time. It's all serving the highest good of the all, which is your highest good, because of the oneness and because of the infinite possibility that each of us individuals are able to imagine through our own unique extension of God itself. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I had so much fun getting to have this conversation. If you made it all the way to the end, why don't you comment something like a wave or something that lets me know you've been listening, like an ear or something like that. That's like you hear this and you would love to sit there and chit chat for hours and hours and hours about all the dimensions of reality. Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun to get to observe what's real and to get to sort the information inside of ourselves so that we can practice our own unique discernment? Isn't it fun to make choices? Isn't it fun to be authentic? Oh, I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you soon. Okay. Okay, bye.